The man took out a color card. He repeatedly compared it with the gang leader's new car. He discovered that the car's paint was extremely similar to the color-shifting ink used in banknotes, so he immediately took the paint back to the lab for testing. After experimenting with hundreds of colors against the blueprint, David finally formulated the color-shifting ink used for printing money. Henry, the crime gang's leader, was very satisfied with this. He not only rewarded him with a villa, but also made an exception to let him participate in a counterfeit money deal. However, Henry didn't tell David. The counterfeit money deal was just an excuse, because Henry's true purpose was to use the deal as a pretext to kill Paul, who had murdered his father. Just as the two were about to enter the house for negotiations, Henry took the opportunity to slip a remote detonator into David's hand. But David was just an employee. He had no intention of risking his life, but soldiers were guarding everywhere in the camp. There was no way to escape. He finally had to force himself to enter the house, while Paul was completely unaware of the approaching danger. To threaten Henry to stay and help him print money, Paul recklessly brought up Henry's father again. "Your father and I were brothers. You should feel at home here." These words completely enraged Henry. He suddenly revealed the explosives all over his body, and ordered David to release the detonator in his hand. As the timer ended, with a loud bang, the bomb pre-installed on the vehicle was successfully detonated. Hearing the explosion, his teammates grabbed rocket launchers and fired. The entire camp was instantly engulfed in flames. Seeing Paul trying to escape by car, Henry seized the moment and leaped up. First shot the driver dead, then quickly adjusted his body position, aimed at the tires and fired another shot. Paul was thrown out of the car, finally dying under Henry's gun. Meanwhile, David rescued a woman who was severely burned. The woman's name was Lucy. She looked very similar to his ex-girlfriend Ellie. Looking at Lucy's disfigured face, David had a bold idea. After returning home, he paid out of his own pocket to have Lucy's face surgically transformed to look like Ellie, and planned to let her live on forever as Ellie's replacement. But Lucy had no idea about this, until 3 months later. David was invited to Ellie's wedding with an art dealer. Lucy finally realized she was just a replacement. By then David was already heartbroken. To comfort Lucy, David decided to take her away from Henry's team, to live in seclusion for a while. But how could Henry easily let them leave? So right in front of David, he directly kidnapped the newlywed Ellie and her husband to the base, planning to use their lives to force David to stay. But unexpectedly, the usually timid David suddenly pointed his gun at Henry. Just as the two were about to have a shootout, Lucy swiftly eliminated the female assassin with a knife, then took control of her weapon, and shot down Henry's other companions. After the chaos, David aimed his gun at Henry and pulled the trigger. He thought he could finally live a peaceful life. But just one day later, the police found David based on a counterfeit bill. However, just before he was taken to the police station, he suddenly spotted a familiar figure across the street.